I was wondering, like, what just your first thoughts when you were first approached about writing on this Halloween project.
Blown away. Like it was never a project that I would ever imagine I would have like gotten my hands on. It would never would have thought that. And yeah, when David came to me and said that he'd been approached by Blumhouse about if he would be interested in that, there was something that instantly just made sense about it to me. I could see why they had gone to him, as unexpected as that was. And Jeff and myself went to film school with David. We've known him for a long time, and we had been working together on Vice Principals, and we'd worked together on other stuff as well. And so yeah, David came to us and said, "Hey, you guys want to write this with me?" He knew we were big Halloween fans, and it was daunting at first, but then you just kind of have to push through that, and it's just pretty awesome to be able to try your hand playing with one of the most iconic horror characters out there.
It was interesting because when I first heard that they were just basically ignoring all the other movies, at first I was kind of like, But then when I heard how you were doing it, you want to explain that a little bit? Because you're not really just saying screw the other films. You're basically almost doing an alternate kind of reality version, I
guess the closest comparison, and we'll start at the top, would be like I guess we see it philosophically the same way that like Nolan's like Batman trilogy doesn't like replace Tim Burton's. It's just different filmmakers taking an approach to the same material, to the same character. And so as we were kind of studying all the Halloween movies, and also just looking at the state of like what, as fans, when an old property's been rebooted or reapproached, like what do we like about, like what separates the good ones from the bad ones. And I think for us, we just came like, I think what would be cool is to continue the story and give fans something new, as opposed to retell the story that was already told so well before. So yeah, that's when we just started kind of looking like, Laurie and Michael are, they're the centers of the first Halloween film. So how could we continue that story in a way that, isn't been muddled by all the other versions of it? So yeah, we just started there.
And the three of you have worked together before, and you have a lot of heavy comedy background, and I see there's a lot of comedy actors. And do you see that there's a parallel between writing comedy and horror, the way you structure things? And
I think it definitely feels like it wasn't like suddenly that it was a horror, that it was suddenly like more like harder for us or anything. I mean, I think that like both of them tend to really, their success relies on like where the audience is at. Like if the audience is taking the ride with you, then beats and set pieces work. And if they're not on board, then they don't work. And so I think it was all about it had a lot to do with structure, which is we're kind of passionate about with the shows that we write. So it kind of ended up being more similar than dissimilar, I think.
Yeah.
So you all said you were fans of the franchise. How cool was it to have Nick Castle, Jamie Lee Curtis, and then John Carpenter? It must have been like so surreal.
I never geek out, but when I saw Carpenter on set, I was just like, it was pretty insane to see. And I got to see Carpenter and Jamie Lee sort of see each other after all these years or whatever, and have a little moment. And I don't know, it was just awesome to get to talk to them. And Nick Castle was great too, and it's been amazing.
No, it's been just because I'm a horror geek, so I know in geek circles when it was announced that you all were doing this, pretty much everybody's like, they're really awesome filmmakers, so this is going to be really interesting to see how the film turns out. And I just watched some footage, and I'm not, obviously no spoilers, but the dialogue was, it was a family dynamic, and it was very natural, and it didn't feel fake, and it just seems like this movie may have a more grounded reality than some of the other horror films that we see out there.
We hope so. Like, that was what we, I always like when filmmakers who aren't known for horror step into it. If it's like Friedkin on Exorcist, or, Kubrick on The Shining. I don't know. I love when tried and true dramatic directors like handle horror. I just feel like they're able to ground those performances and create characters that feel real. And watching the cast that David put together for this, and how natural everyone is, and how loose he keeps it. Yeah, it's been cool to watch. I think it makes the world a lot scarier, because it feels like a world that isn't very different from the world we're in.
And how important was it to have Jamie Lee involved with kind of developing Laurie and seeing where she is now, as opposed to where she would have been in kind of the other?
I think it's everything. It's what the whole movie hinges on. I think it's like, if she wasn't involved with it, it really would be sort of a reinvention of it in a way that I don't know if fans would have like enjoyed. And to be able to continue her story and not just bring her back to sort of pass the baton like I feel like she's been used other times. I feel like it continues her story, and and I hope people dig it.